Each Monday, I go over the biggest risers and fallers in average draft position, aka ADP, in the best ball markets. I will discuss whether I'm buying or selling these players at their new prices and why. The idea is to get you up to speed very quickly on what's happening out there in the best ball streets and how to adjust. Let's begin with the risers from the last 7 days. First one is Brayan Allen. Brayan Allen up 16 spots to 196 overall on Underdog. He's up similarly on DraftKings. I'm at least partially responsible for this move as I've been taking Brayan Allen a ton. He just fits so much of what I'm trying to do. First, on roll. I believe the reports out of minicamp, the ones that have repeatedly said that Brayan Allen is the early leader for the RB2 job behind Breece Hall. I mean, why wouldn't we believe that? The Jets used a round 4 pick on Brayan Allen. He's competing with Izzy Abanikanda, fellow rookie Isaiah Davis, a couple other dust balls. It's not exactly stiff competition. Brayan Allen was Dane Brugler's number 6 running back in this class, ahead of Audric Estime, ahead of Ray Davis, Bucky Irving, etc. Brayan Allen was really productive at Wisconsin at an extremely young age. I believe he's the youngest player in this entire draft class. He can play on pass downs. So I think a question, is there room for standalone value behind Breece Hall? Probably not. I think Breece is just going to play so much in all the 2-minute and the 4-minute and pass down. So I don't think that there's a ton of room for standalone value, but I wouldn't completely rule it out considering how running back friendly Aaron Rodgers teams have been historically. So I'd say a small chance of standalone value, but perhaps one injury away from just massive value. And that's not all that different from the profile of running backs going far higher than Brayan Allen. You know, Tyler Algier, Ray Davis, Bucky Irving, Jalen Wright. I think Ty Chandler and Marshawn Lloyd will play more, have more standalone value, but a similar kind of profile. Now, all this does assume that Brayan Allen does cleanly win the running back 2 job. And that's definitely not a lock. But at this price, in the 190s, I think it's worth the gamble. Oh, and one more bonus on this. Jets backdoor stacks are really easy to get. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, Malachi Corley, Tyler Conklin, Brayan Allen, they are all there late in case of emergency. And that's one backdoor stack that I've been doing for sure. Second riser I wanted to get to is Jaylen Waddle. Jaylen Waddle up 5.8 spots to 24 overall on DraftKings. So seems like a massive move for someone going in the first 3 rounds. It's almost 6 spots. But I want to be clear that these moves in the round 2/round 3 range aren't as big as they seem because it's such an incredibly flat tier. You know, what I mean by that is, are we really sure Marvin Harrison, Chris Olave, Devontae Adams, Nico Collins are clearly better picks than Mike Evans, Brandon Ayuk, Devonta Smith, DJ Moore, Malik Neighbors, Jaylen Waddle? I mean, maybe slightly, but I'd consider a ton of those guys in the same tier. And we can see it in our rankings and projections. If we give someone a half percent target share more, he's going to move up a ton in that round 2-3 range because it's so tight. And so Jaylen Waddle moving up to 24, sure, I'm fine with that. I honestly think it's personal preference among these wide receivers. One thing that you do get on Waddle that you might not get with some of the other guys is some contingent value. If Tyreek Hill gets hurt, I mean, Jaylen Waddle is going to go nuclear. I think he'll be fine with Tyreek out there. But if Tyreek Hill gets hurt, I mean, Waddle is going to go off. We saw it a few times last year when Tyreek just left for a drive or 2 or 3 here, and Waddle was the one getting all those incredible yard after catch opportunities schemed to him. So yeah, I'm fine with Waddle. I think without a Tyreek injury, though, the truly explosive games are capped a bit. So Mike Evans, Nico Collins, Olave, slightly preferable for me over Waddle. One other thing on the Jaylen Waddle stuff. So you can typically get Tyreek Hill at 3rd overall and then Jaylen Waddle at 22 overall. I think that's interesting as Tua Tagovailoa has shown an ability to have some truly massive weeks. Tua had 2 30 balls last year, which is a lot for a pocket passer, had 1 30 ball and 1 40-point game in 2022. And so that's one way for the Tua double to hit, Tua, Waddle, Tyreek, for Tua to just go off. The other way is alternate weeks. In other words, week 15, your best ball team is in the playoffs. Tyreek Hill goes nuclear. Then next week, maybe they double team Tyreek or he's banged up, whatever. And Jaylen Waddle drags us into the finals. And then in the finals, Tyreek is less owned. Maybe he can win us the title. So I think that's interesting with the alternate week stuff in the playoffs. Oh, one thing I don't like doing, though, is going Tyreek, Devon Achane, Waddle with my first 3 picks. Don't typically have the opportunity to do that, but even if I do, it's just too much capital into one team. Just so hard for all 3 to pay off. We would need 2 to go nuts to win a final probably, and that's tough. All right, last riser to mention here today is Daniel Jones. Danny Dimes up 9.8 spots to 195 overall. This is one I've been struggling with as it's a bit complicated. First on Danny Dimes himself. Remember, he was Fantasy's quarterback 9 in points per game in 2022. And that was with Saquon Barkley, Darius Slayton, Richie James, and Isaiah Hodgins as his top 4 pass catchers. So yes, we know he can do it. And now he will have a true alpha in Malik Neighbors, plus Wan'Dale Robinson, another year removed from injury, Slayton, Jalen Hyatt. I mean, it's the best pass catching group he's had, even with Darren Waller retiring. And you add in the rushing component of Daniel Jones' game, and of course he looks good at 195 overall. The problem is twofold. First, Jones is coming off of an ACL tear sustained early November of last season. He's also had some chronic neck issues, which has cost him games. So, does Dimes still have the rushing ceiling we once saw that made me so excited about him back in that 2022 season? I'm skeptical. And second, I think the Giants are just about ready to move on from Danny Dimes. Similar to the Russ Wilson situation in Denver last year on a smaller scale. If the season is going bad for the Giants or meh for the Giants and they want to dump Dimes in the offseason, they could very well bench him late as his 2025 contract and a $41 million cap hit that comes with it. That contract is guaranteed for injury. So it would not shock me at all if Drew Lock is under center for the best ball playoffs. And obviously that's a stone cold disaster for us, even if we're getting him at 190 overall. If you read Leone's latest article, highly recommended, it's on the site now, but if you read Leone's latest article, you know how crucial it is not to have any zeros late in the year. So it's tough because I do think Daniel Jones will outperform his ADP when he plays this year, but there's just so much risk that I've been avoiding it. If I need an emergency stack, I prefer something like the Jets that I mentioned, Jalen Polk, Drake May, Hunter Henry, Patriot stuff, even Broncos backdoors, especially if I get Cortland Sutton, Broncos backdoors with Bo Nix, Marv Mims, McLaughlin. That's so cheap also. All right, let's get to this week's fallers. First faller I want to talk about is Ben Sinnott, rookie tight end, down 5 spots to 163 overall. It's funny. I don't think Ben Sinnott was really on anyone's radar as recently as 2 months ago. A lot of scouts had him as the 4th or 5th best tight end in a weak tight end class. But then he tests absurdly well. People look at him harder, see the pass catching production at K-State last year, caught 49 balls, 676 yards, 6 touchdowns. And then the Commanders take him at 53 overall. And all that led to early best ball drafters going nuts. I saw Sinnott go in the 130s at times not too long ago, consistently 140s and 150s, and now 163. Our position hasn't changed at all. We still have Sinnott at 186 overall. I've only taken him as part of Jayden Daniels stacks, and even that doesn't feel great. I think a lot of this is bias towards what happened with the rookie tight ends last year. But that was such a massive outlier. I mean, Dalton Kincaid, Sam Laporta, Luke Musgrave, even Michael Mayer, they were all way better prospects than Ben Sinnott. And we aren't even certain that Sinnott's going to get great quarterback play. I mean, I really like Jayden Daniels, especially for fantasy, but there's risk there. And lastly, I'd hope that the Commanders use Sinnott a ton given the draft capital they spent. But Zach Ertz is on this team, and Cliff Kingsbury, the king of all frauds himself, is the offensive coordinator. I wouldn't put anything past this guy. So yeah, it's been an easy fade for me on Sinnott and will continue to be, other than the Jayden Daniels stacks. Second faller is Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray down 4 spots to 84th overall on DraftKings, also down 2 spots to 81 overall on Underdog. I'm pretty surprised Kyler is falling. When I think of quarterbacks who can actually contend to be the quarterback one, they absolutely have to have a rushing ceiling. And Kyler has that. I know that he's had the knee injury and a bunch of other injuries since, but in 2020, Kyler ran it 133 times for 819 yards and 11 touchdowns. So, yeah, I don't think it's crazy to take Kyler over more pocket passers such as Joe Burrow or Dak Prescott or Jordan Love. I mean, last year, Kyler Murray was the quarterback 8 in points per game, and he's going as the quarterback 9 this year. Now, last year, Kyler only played in 8 games as he came off the ACL tear, but he didn't have a true alpha wide receiver. And now he has a full healthy offseason and gets Marvin Harrison. So I make it a pretty big priority to get Kyler on teams where I have Marvin Harrison and or Trey McBride. If those guys are going to pay off their expensive tags, especially Harrison, Kyler is going to have a big year. Last faller of the week is Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is down small, 1.4 spots to 26 overall on DraftKings. I would throw Kelce into that same round 2, round 3 group where it's very flat. Mike Evans, Waddle, who I mentioned, Kelce, Debo, Kyron Williams, Laporta, Cooper Kupp, all those guys, they all have warts. That said, Kelce has been one in the group that I have been avoiding. I'm just not overly comfortable with a guy who will be 35 years old in October, had 10 out of 15 games under 70 yards last season, despite truly brutal wide receiver core around him. Chiefs go out and get Marquise Brown. They go out and spend a bunch of draft capital on Xavier Worthy. Rashee Rice broke out late last year. He'll be back from suspension eventually. They draft Jared Wiley to add to Noah Gray at the tight end position. I think the Chiefs are serious about saving Kelce for the playoffs where they need him so badly. The NFL playoffs, I mean. So yeah, at 26 overall, I've been passing on Kelce in favor of wide receiver, especially on DraftKings, more often. That said, if I'm playing large field stuff, I do want elite tight end. In a 6 or 12 person final, some of the high stakes, smaller field stuff, 6 or 12 person final, I can get away with 9, 10, 12 points at tight end and still win it. I've done that. But in a 1,000 person final, you're going to need a truly massive score. An elite tight end helps a ton there. So McBride, Kincaid, Mark Andrews, George Kittle, Evan Ingram have been targets for me after passing on Kelce and Laporta. All right. That is going to do it for this week's Market Monday. Thanks to all of you for listening. If you have not yet subscribed to the Establish the Run podcast, be sure you are by searching for it anywhere podcasts are found. Also, be sure you're following me on Twitter for a ton more player takes at Adam Levitan. And be certain you are subscribed to our YouTube channel. It is free, and there is a ton of content on there that does not hit the audio pod feed. For producer Luke, for editor Jackson, for Jerry, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.